Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of World at War Comics. My special guest, Miss Laurie Calcaterra. She is the creator and writer of The Pale Rider by through Charter Comics. Laurie, thank you so much for being on today. I can't wait to talk to you about
You.
The Pale Rider. It's been awesome so far.
Thank you, Tommy. I'm excited to be here. I love talking about comics. I love nerding out. And of course, ask me anything about my comic and I can talk for like hours.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. As you should, right?
Ah,
Well, very good. Well, I think what I like to do, just to get to know you a little bit better, Lori, I would love to know your background, how you got into writing, where that passion came for storytelling. Can you kind of walk us through that? Like, at what age did you realize I really enjoy telling stories?
I kind of have a weird journey.
Uh-huh.
Um, I started reading comics as a young adult, like college.
Mhm.
And the first thing that I read was The Watchmen. So graphic novel The Watchmen, which got me into like The Door. And then I started reading more graphic novels, Killing Joke. And this was like Image had already been around. So I was reading like Walking Dead and Invincible and East of West. And a lot of those things have really influenced my storytelling is when when we talk about the story, you'll see all of that.
Sure,
But
yeah.
I never imagined that I would be writing comics. My story actually starts with martial arts. I've been doing martial arts since 1997, and I have practiced Filipino and Indonesian martial arts. And in 2017, I had formed a fight team for choreography and some stunts. And myself and two gentlemen had choreographed a fight scene for a music video for this production company in Detroit called Coattail Collective. I ended up writing a short film called Catfishing, which you can see on my YouTube. It's hilarious. We don't claim to be actors. It's like 3.5 minutes of us kicking butts and taking names. Like I do a wall run in a stairwell, gun disarm, knives, you name it. I run someone over with a car. It's great.
It
Um,
sounds amazing to me. I
it,
don't
it
know.
it's hilarious. Like you should definitely watch it. The fights are
Definitely
great.
will.
The acting not so much. Like again, we're not actors, but that was kind of like our calling card. And the production company looked at me and they're like, "Okay, you can write. What else do you want to write for us? You want to write something else, like a web series?" So I wrote this web series called The Agency, which was like heavy stunts, martial arts, spy versus spy, espionage, and we had filmed probably the pilot and it was due for reshoots. But in the meantime, I had moved, my family had moved from Michigan to Texas. So all of that kind of fell apart. Um, but I got bit by that bug and I wrote the script for Path of the Pale Rider under the title Dead West. And it was a full length movie. And I was, being told to pitch it to Netflix, pitch it to Amazon, da 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 da. And I wasn't really ready for that. I'm not ready to give up creative control of the story because we all know that when someone adapts it, it becomes something different,
Mhm.
right?
For sure. Absolutely.
Um, and my husband was actually the one. So he was the one that read the script and was like, "This is a comic book." And I was like, ding, ding, light bulb turned on, and you are right, sir. So then it became a matter of splitting it up into issues and then finding an artist and then starting my journey into indie comics. I had no connections, no idea. Ran our first Kickstarter. Well, we had a couple false starts because let's be honest, we started in 2020. I had two artists attached, and like the pandemic was rough, and like trees fell on their house, and one of them there was a shooting. Like it was bad, right? Okay.
Wow.
Both of them, yeah, ended up leaving the project. I took all of 2021 off, and I didn't even know if I was going to continue at that point. It was one of those like, if the right artist is out there, I'll be patient and I'll listen and I'll find them and then I'll know it will be right. You know what I mean? Like I just didn't want to keep throwing money at the wall, hoping that it was the right person. I met Marco DeFio over Facebook. We were in a group called, I think it's Connecting Writers, Comic Book Writers and Artists, Connecting Comic Artists and Writers, something like that. And he was already working on a different series. And it's another post-apocalyptic series and had, yeah, I mean, you've seen his art. It's fabulous.
Beautiful. It's stunning.
Beautiful. It's like not really manga and not really Western. It's somewhere in between. It has its own feel. And he drew this character bio of my main character, Jude St. Clair. And I was like, hot damn, that's it. You know what I mean? Like, let's go. So that was January 2022. We ran our first Kickstarter, I want to say March to April of 2022. We made over $5,000 on our
Wow,
issue
congrats.
one, like out the door, like nobody has heard of us.
That's crazy. That's
It was
crazy.
nuts. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, we can do this. So we just kept growing. We've had 4 successful Kickstarters that have all grown every time. And we're finishing up issue number 4. We have like 4 pages left as we're recording this. And then we're moving on to a trade paperback.
That's so
Um,
cool.
but I mean, like, we've scratched the surface about what Path of the Pale Rider is, because we'll get into it, but it's like comic books and short films and riddles and fan interaction and shenanigans, and it's a whole lot of stuff. So it keeps me busy, and that's kind of my origin story wrapped in a nutshell.
That's a pretty awesome origin story, and I'm glad that you found comics, right? I don't think there's
Yeah.
the right age to come into comics. I think when it happens, it happens, and I
Mm-hmm.
think the door is open to a lot of people that want to get into it for the first time. I think there's enough room for everybody, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
And there always needs to be new indie. There needs to be new stories, because otherwise we just get recycled Hollywood stuff.
Yeah, it's true. And I could tell you as a comic book fan, I probably spend 60 to 70% of my money on indie, and then the
Mhm.
rest of it is on, DC and Marvel. There are still a few titles that I really enjoy. I'm a big Green Lantern fan, and 2 of my favorite writers happen to be on Green Lantern right now, which I'm
Oh,
really excited
nice.
about. Yeah, because they change writers about every year and a
Mhm.
half, and some I really enjoy, and some I don't enjoy as much. Which is, I think, everybody's case, right? You all have your
Right.
favorites. So, but most of my stuff, like if I look around me, it's all, unique, um, yeah, indie stuff.
Hold on,
So,
I'm gonna disappear for a second.
oh yeah, yeah, please, please. Yeah,
That's my
East
Bible.
West.
I love this.
It's such a
It's
good title.
oh,
So good.
It
The
is.
bonus
It is.
material, the lettering, the colors, the story, everything. Like, I'm all
Yeah.
into East of West, man.
It's
Good
it's
stuff.
so good. They were
Yeah.
killing it on that title for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could definitely get that kind of Western feel. Can you kind of go
Mhm.
into how the story came about of Pell Rider?
Yeah. So I had this idea, what would happen if death broke? And I wanted a new take. I mean, like, I love horror. I love zombies. I'm a pretty big nerd. I'm in all the fandoms, but I love horror specifically because it shows a window into what we culturally as a whole people are afraid of at the time. And it's interesting to me to go back and look, right? But to me, I have a lot of my fears built into this story, but it would be like, Tommy, what if you woke up dead? You're still you, but your soul didn't leave and you're actively decaying.
That's
What would
great.
that world look like? And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, if we're breaking death, we're going to break death for everything. So it's not just people, it's plants, it's insects, it's animals and fish. And what would that look like? So I spent a lot of time world building, like, what would the government do? What would food supply look like? That sucks. People are
Yeah.
like, well, we just become vegetarian. Well, it's like, well, the insects, you can't kill them with pesticides. So they're
Yeah.
kind of dumb. They might continue to eat the crops.
Yeah.
So how do you stop a swarm of undead? Look, I mean, and how do you butcher a cow? I eat meat. How do you butcher a cow that doesn't want to be cut up into pieces? And will it still move while you try to eat it? Yes,
So
it's so
nuts.
gross.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I wanted to build into my story, a lot of zombie tropes are like the survival, you know what I mean? But they don't really focus on the why. Like, where did this come from? Is it a
Mhm.
virus? Is it supernatural? Is it government, aliens? What? And there's a lot of times they don't tell you. And I was like, I always want to know how and why. So that's what my story is about. Yes, we've created this really dynamic powder keg, a lot of ethical questions built into this story of how people treat each other. And I don't shy away. I shine the light on all the ugliness of humans and how terrible we can be to each other. But my main character, his goal is to figure it out and then to see if he can put it back to the way that it was.
Yeah. Kind of on the search, right? As he
Mm-hmm.
travels.
It's kind
Yeah.
of like Don Quixote. He's on this impossible mission.
I-93, right? I-93.
Mhm. If you know anything about I-93, that will tell. I've already told people where we're going. If you've paid attention to the story, it's
That
there.
is so cool, man. So then, all right, so you have issue 1 through 3 that are complete right now, and you have issue 4, which is kind of the end of that first arc of that 12-part series. Can you kind
Yes.
of walk us into that process? What does that look like? I think you mentioned you're down to like the last 4 pages, which is really exciting. I mean, does it feel
Yeah.
good to kind of be through that first portion? I mean, that's quite an accomplishment in like what, a
Thank you.
year and a half to have 4
Yeah.
issues done as an independent creator. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. We're enjoying it. And it's like we have to step back and remind ourselves to enjoy the process, enjoy the issue that we're on, but still be excited for what's coming, because I know what's coming in this story. And I'm super excited to finish up this first arc because I know where we're going. And like Marco is a little bit anxious about issue number 5 because how busy it is. Because I cram a lot into, I don't like fluff. I hate filler episodes. I used to watch TV, and there's good TV, bad TV. I don't know how many episodes of Lost we watch where we're like, just open the hatch, just open the hatch. You know what I mean? How many filler, of Walking Dead were until like the barn burns down and then we're happy again. I hate that filler crap. So there's a lot in my issues, and of course the further we go it ramps up. So it's like, enjoy where we are, enjoy the process, and then but it's exciting because as soon as we finish one, we're one step closer to figuring out what Jude St. Clair knows. He does find the answer in the first 12. I think it's
Okay.
issue 10. He figures it out.
Wow.
Yeah. Where the second arc is 100 times crazier than the first arc, and that's saying something.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
you've
Yeah, for
read
sure.
these, we burn a lot of shit down. Am I allowed to
Yeah.
swear on this?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah,
Okay.
it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, yeah.
We
No,
burn a
that's
lot of
awesome.
shit down.
I love it though. I mean, that's what's fun about it. That's one of those attracting qualities for sure. Can you kind of go a little more depth on the world building? Because the world building is very interesting throughout this title. Like, how much time did you spend on the world building? Was there any kind of research into kind of the science of what would happen if something like this broke out? I mean, there are videos that I've watched where insects do kind of decay, but they're still moving. I don't know if you've seen those videos. It was like an ant and it was like half gone, but it's still kind of walking. And they talk about the science of how that's even possible. And even they
Yep.
call it a zombie ant or something like that when that happens. I guess it happens often. But can you walk into like, did you like dig into this and try and make sure that a lot of the things that you were bringing forth, there's like a little tiny bit of truth to where that maybe something like that could happen?
Well, I'm giggling because I know I'm on some FBI watch list at this point
Yeah,
with
be
the amount
careful
of
what you Google, right?
right, exactly. I'm like, I just have to keep in mind, like, hopefully they know I'm a writer, right? At this point, like, I did a crap ton of research. My undead people are I want to say they're based off of more like a dementia patient, because even though their body is rotting, the biggest thing that affects them is their brain decomposing in their skull. So they start to lose their memories. They could become violent and agitated. They could become vegetative or just don't care. And in this world, it's like, how would we react to that? It's like in the beginning, when people can just basically wake up dead and still drive to work,
That's so crazy.
and keep participating like they're themselves. But for how long? How long does that last? And does it affect everybody the same way? So I was like, okay, what parts of the brain are emotions held in? So it's like, if you get hit in this part of your brain, or if you have memory stored in this part of your brain, they're based off of fear or based off of happiness. So it just depends on how these people die and how they decompose. They could get stuck in a certain emotion even. It's a rough place. So then of course the government would step in and be like, okay, you're not allowed to be out at night. You're not allowed to drive cars. You can't have firearms. You can't vote. You can't own property. And then eventually it becomes illegal, you know, for an undead person to be in a living community, and they create a police force to separate.
That's
So
crazy.
there's an anonymous phone number that you can call as a citizen. And if
Yeah.
your neighbor is supposedly hiding an undead person in their basement or wherever, they can go pick them up. You just have to make a phone call. We've done that before as people, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
It's stuff like that, but it raises the thing that I love so much about this world is that I don't tell people how to feel about it.
Yeah.
It's just a gray space, because depending on your experience in that world, you might be an undead supporter, a sympathizer, where it's like, that's my mom, that's my neighbor or my sister that they're ripping out of my house, you know, out of their house in the middle of the night. Or it could be my neighbor's undead and they ran over my cat, like, get them the heck out of here before that cat is then my kid, you know? So they're all over the map. Um, the government has created technology that they have to wear that we call a disc. If you tap it and it's green, it mimics the heartbeat, because the heartbeat is then the indicator whether you're alive or not. It can't be brain activity or anything else because people are still walking around.
Still doing it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's even a portion where I think Judith tells them, "Hey, tap it real quick before I
Yep.
start talking to you." Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And the first issue, he comes across a
Yeah.
kid, he points a gun in his face and he wants to
Yeah.
know, are you
Yeah.
alive or not? So he knows what he's dealing with. He's like,
Yeah.
tap it. And once it's
Exactly.
green, then he puts his gun away. He's like, all right, I'm just looking for the road. Which way is I-93? You know?
Yeah.
But those come into play a lot. They're technology. People hack technology.
Yeah.
One of the riddles, is it issue 3? The back cover of every issue of Path of the Pale Rider is a riddle.
Yeah.
And they're all different. So at the back of issue number 3, it's a QR code scavenger hunt. So I think there's 24 QR codes, and you don't have to, you know, there's no research involved. There's no riddle solving. It's just basically have fun and scan the codes.
Yeah.
But one of them takes you to a secret video on my YouTube channel. And it's literally the Undead Underground teaching people how to hack a disc. Like it's a
That's so
real, like you
fun.
can interact with it, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's how the world works. It's like, it works just like this one, where it's like, if it's technology, someone figured out how to hack it. There's no question in my mind. So yeah, it's just a lot of push and pull. The living versus the undead. There's living sympathizers that sympathize with the undead, and crazy ethical questions that happen. You know, what happens, like if I'm a single mother and I have 2 kids and I die, where do they go when they come collect me? And can we stay in our house? Who's taking care of them? You know what I mean? Or vice versa. Let's say one of the kids pass away and they come to collect them. So it's just, there's a lot of really interesting situations in the book that we address. So
How much, I certainly don't want to get into like political conversations, but how much of what we all experienced during COVID, and every country did something, like some countries were super extreme, some countries were like, hey, we'll just ride through this, it's going to be okay. Like how much of that influenced how the government would function within Pell Rider? Because as you're talking, right, I'm all these memories of just 3 years ago are popping up. I'm like, you know, maybe not that far off from something like the government acting like that in our own experience. Maybe not to that extreme, but you can certainly relate to a lot of that.
I wrote the script for Path of the Pale Rider in 2018.
Oh, wow. That's scary.
So prior to COVID. And
So as you're seeing COVID go through after writing that, what are you thinking?
I was flipping out. My sister, who had read the script, was flipping out to the point where she called me and she was like, hey, stop writing. She's like, you need to stop
Yeah,
writing right
please.
now. And I was
Please.
like,
Yeah,
I don't know what to tell you, man. If it follows the story any closer, we're in big trouble,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting, and I think issue number 3 specifically,
uh,
when we jump back in time and you get to experience the fall, like from day 1 of when Death goes missing, and it looks like freaking COVID pandemic, like how we
yeah.
were glued to the TV and watching news
Yeah.
after news after news, just bad reports and getting worse, and riots and being stuck at home and like hoarding food. And I think the only thing that Marco put in there as a tribute to 2020 is they had like toilet paper stashed somewhere in a box. So
Yeah,
if you look
exactly.
like in the corner of their living room, they have a box of toilet paper stashed. But
Yeah.
I
I'll
mean,
have to
it's
go back. I might
bizarre.
have missed that, but that's
It's
hilarious.
Yeah, we have a lot of Easter eggs in there that are super funny, and most of them are Marco's sense of humor. Like
That's
in number
awesome.
2, if you look in the saloon salon,
Uh-huh.
there is a singing bass on the wall.
Yeah.
There's a
I
singing bass,
love it.
and it used to be a salon, and they added an O to make it a saloon. So if you look in the background, there's like hair dryer chairs, and there's those like big vanities with the lights around them, like you see at the hairdresser. It's really
Yeah.
funny because who's dyeing their hair in the apocalypse? But we
Yeah.
are drinking,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. A lot of
Let's be
drinking.
honest.
You have
We're
to, right?
still
I mean, that's the
drinking.
one thing that probably helps you
We
get through.
gotta cope.
Gotta cope. Definitely
but
coping
but
mechanism.
yeah, yeah, I wrote it prior to, and people have asked me like, if you gone back and changed things. No,
Oh,
no, I have not. No,
yeah.
it's what it is what you're getting is what was originally written in 2018, and it's
I'm scary. I mean, obviously you started this in 2018, so the first 12 issues, you kind of probably, if you haven't written them already, you have it in the back of your mind. I'm a little
scary.
nervous for you to write something new.
I
And then like two
do.
years later, it all come true.
I'm kind of steering clear. I mean, where the
Can
story is
you do
now with
something like
Pack, where
everyone gets really wealthy or like a story like that? Or
that I should write that, right? We should.
yeah,
I'll write you and I win the lotto. There we
exactly.
go. And build a house in. I don't even want to build a house in Hawaii at this point.
No, no. That's scary
Mm,
stuff.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Yeah. That's awesome. So, I mean, this is incredible. Can you talk a little bit more about Marco? Because I know you mentioned him a couple times and he is an amazing artist. How long has he been doing art, sequential art? And I mean, how quickly did you jive with him after you started working with him? Because that relationship between a writer and an artist is so important because you are
Mhm.
limited to how much you could say in words in a comic book because then it becomes a novel, right? So the
Right.
art really needs to tell a big portion of that story as well. So how often are you talking? That relationship to me sounds like it's really strong. And that comes through as a reader when you're reading a comic book. You could kind of tell when the artist and writer aren't jiving because
Yeah.
the words are saying one thing and the art, you're like, well, it
What
didn't sound
did
like he
he?
was flying at this moment, but he's flying, I guess. So, you know what I mean? Can you talk a little bit about how important that relationship is and that working relationship with Marco?
Yes. So Marco graduated from Kansas City's Institute of Art in 2020,
Okay.
and in sequential art, like he learned from Kyle Strom. That's who his teacher was.
Wow.
Yeah. If you're not familiar with Kyle Strom, please Google.
Google. Yeah, incredible.
Google.
Yeah,
Google.
legend.
I was reading Spread, and I've read other Twig and all sorts of really good stuff by Kyle. And Marco kind of held that close to him until we started working. And then he was like, my teacher, my teacher. And I'm like, you keep talking about your teacher. Who is this guy? Do I know them? And he was like, oh, it's Kyle Strom. And I was like,
Wait a
no.
minute.
I was like, no, no, really? And it was like, yeah, Kyle from like Twig. And I was like, okay, that explains a lot. But he's been doing art since he was little, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And he's very much into like anime and manga, and he grew up watching Saturday morning cartoons. He has an amazing sense of art, and I think, with his specialty of sequential art, it made it very easy for us to mesh, because I have a background in art as well, but it was like jewelry fabrication and design. But I understand like sketching things and like how to communicate with artists and stuff like that. So he can sketch things and I can understand very easily what he's trying to communicate. So that way we can connect that way. But I think Marco's true skill that he leads to this is he reads my script and he panels these. I did not write this in comic book format. It's
Mm,
not page 1, panel 1, Jude St. Clair does this from this camera angle. It's
interesting. Yeah.
exterior. It's written as a screenplay.
That's impressive.
Exterior night, Jude St. Clair riding his horse along a trail, comes upon I-93, sees a sign that says dead end crossed out, and it says dead bear in spray paint. And we were able to find this really nice balance. We read the script together for an issue and we talk about what's important. how many pages we want to give to each kind of section. There's always important moments and action and things that need to breathe. So we talk through that, but 99% of the art that you're seeing is Marco understanding the script, interpreting the script. Now, my script is super descriptive. Let's be honest. But
still, even to kind of choose like the panel
yeah,
size,
yes.
like all of that's extremely important. So for him to be able to digest that and understand, that really just needs to be a 2-inch panel at the top. But this one should probably be a half page. I think that's also impressive as well.
Yeah, and that's based on him reading the script and then talking to me like, okay, Laurie, what is important? You know, and because of my martial arts background, I'm overly descriptive in my fights. So poor Marco was like, all right, we need to cut like half of this out, dude. I'm like, okay, this is what's important,
I mean, that sounds like a great working relationship, though.
Yeah, we definitely have a great working relationship. Absolutely. We talk once a week, even when we're not in production. He and I live about 45 minutes away from each
Oh,
other.
that's cool. Yeah, that
So a
works
lot
out.
of times, yeah, when we're doing cons, if we're like it's in Arlington where that's his hometown, we'll con together. We'll share on like I'll pony up half the table. We'll just, I'll set up my little stand of my wire rack and I'll stick all the books on there and then he has all his prints and it's nice that way because then we cover all the bases. People are usually looking for art, they want custom art or they want books. And we find both, we have both. So if people come looking for comics, he kind of pushes them my way. And I'm like, if I talk to them first, I'm like, I have comics and they're not really interested. I'm like, check out all of Marco's art. So we work together, at a table and it's very easy. And it's, chilling, talking to someone, nerding out. We have a good time. So
I think it's also rare when you go to a con where the artist and the writer are there
are both
together. I mean,
there.
that's even
Yeah.
with like the big two, right? You go to see your favorite DC or Marvel writer. Rarely is the artist there either because some of these artists, like they're in Brazil, Argentina, Spain, so they don't come together that often. So you're
Right.
doing something that most of the industry is not able to do just because they're not together very often. So I think that's amazing that you're so close to your artists. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
That was just luck.
Yeah, yeah,
I had already decided to hire Marco when I found out that he was so close.
yeah,
So it
yeah.
just lucked out. We also have a colorist. His name is Matt Chambers.
Okay, yeah,
He
Matt.
came on with
Hmm.
issue number 3. So
Interesting. Yeah. So did
issue
Marco do
1
the coloring in issue 2?
in
And
issue 2.
okay, gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Issue 1 was black and white.
Yep.
Issue 2 was Marco's colors. Issue 3 is when Matt came in.
Hmm.
Matt is coloring issue 4. And actually, we went back and remastered issue number 1 for
Oh,
the trade paperback release. So it
perfect.
is
Yeah.
it is in color, and I changed my lettering style between 1 and 2.
Hmm.
So I went back and re-lettered it so it's one cohesive,
Yeah.
story. You won't come out of the story because the bubbles change shape or,
Yeah.
that's black and white and all of a sudden it's color. It's all one thing. So I'm
That's
excited for
exciting.
that, for
Oh
people to
yeah,
see
I
it.
can't wait.
Yeah.
Where can people pick up your comic now? You have a website, is it a TikTok shop, eBay? Where can they go if they want to pick up Pell Rider right now?
We're in a few locations.
Okay.
My website has a shop. The website is just www.pathofthepalerider.com. You'll be able to pick up all 3 issues, and then if I have variant covers left over from the Kickstarter, those will also be available. Plus, my merch is there as well. So I have like t-shirts, keychains. I got a few other things that are on there. It just all kind of rotates depending on what I
You need a
have in
beer
stock.
mug, like a big beer mug that says Path of the Pell Rider.
Well, like I'm working on my girlfriend. I don't know if you're familiar with Carissa Grant. She was a good friend of mine,
Hmm.
and she
I'm
writes a
not.
series called Worthy Chaos. And
Oh,
she's a beast. She has produced 14 issues in 12 months, Tommy.
12 months? How? That's not even possible. We're
She's
gonna have
done
to
it.
get her on the show too. Just that alone, like how you do that, and how do you afford to do that?
She'll have to tell you her
Yeah.
story. It's not my story to tell. But just
Uh,
insane. And
yeah.
she has so much merch. She is the merch queen. And she has changed indie because now everybody is doing what she's doing, which is plushies. She has made plushies a thing Like nobody else had plushies on their Kickstarter merch until Carissa Grant. Well, she has been asking me to do a Big James plushie for a while. So I'm doing like pillow plushies. And for a Big James is a big undead bear for those of you who are
Yeah.
seeing me for the first time. Think
That is a
Cocaine
good idea,
Bear.
though.
Yeah, Cocaine Bear. He's a big undead bear that Jude St. Clair meets on the road in the first issue, and it's a bad day. You
To
don't
say
want
the
to meet
least.
Big James. He's a
Yeah.
bear. He can run faster than you. He can climb trees. He can swim. And you can't kill him. So good luck.
Nice. Good
Jude
luck.
is very lucky to get out of that situation
Yeah,
with
yeah,
his heart still beating. And he it's a bad day for him. The
yeah,
cost is pretty high.
yeah.
But anyway, so I'm doing that, and like I have hoodies, I have Big James hoodies, I have I have a choose your own adventure book that's on there. I'm working on I have 3D print stuff, so I have 3D printed disc keychains made out of wood, and we
I love
usually
it.
do a Funko Pop. I'm not gonna do one for the trade paperback, but
Hmm.
I have my latest one here. You have to see it. So this is Callie St. Clair. Oh man. This
Oh,
is
there.
Callie
Ooh,
St.
yeah.
Let me see if I can get it to a place where it's not gonna.
Yeah. You know what? Go like this over your face, or maybe that won't work. Yeah. See, it comes out a little bit
I guess
better.
so.
Now you could do it. Yep.
There.
That
See,
is
okay.
awesome.
So
Yeah.
we make Funko Pops.
How cool is that? Yeah. Sometimes the camera, because of the background, it's trying to get you and not the Funko, but that works perfect. That's
Good.
awesome. That
So
is
this
so
is
cool.
the fourth Funko Pop. We have Jude St. Clair. We have Big James the Undead Bear. We have Dwayne Fink, the lovable drunk who knows something about the end of the
Yeah.
world.
He's
And this is
hilarious
number
too, by the
4.
way.
I love him. We're
Not
gonna
a
have
great
lots
dancer,
more.
by the way.
What's that?
Not a great dancer.
No, he's terrible at what he does on the table. He just falls right down. It's hilarious.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're building a poker deck. Where'd those go?
No way.
Yes, we are.
That's
Um,
crazy.
where are they? I had them up here.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
So we have about 3 cards so far. We have Jude St. Clair is the King of Hearts,
Mm.
and we unlocked 2 cards. I came up with this like, what was it? Campaign number 3, where it's like every 50 backers, we unlock another poker card. We got 52 cards. I mean, we gotta just keep going. So right. So
Exactly.
next campaign, we're building more poker deck cards.
Yeah.
And I always make the previous cards available in the add-ons too. So if like you find us in issue number 4 and you're missing like 4 cards, I think they're $1 each with no
Yeah.
shipping or anything stupid. You know what I mean?
Sweet.
So
That's
we do
awesome.
some fun stuff.
Yeah. That's so cool.
I do surprise rewards.
Yeah.
Like you don't know what you're getting yourself into when you get in there. One of them was handmade. Remember jewelry background, right?
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Yeah.
I made a wooden box with hinges. It has a ornate hinge, and on the inside is a bottle filled with ashes and bones. And I burned a poem into the side. I can't remember the poem. The gist of it is that once death is broken, when death has abdicated the throne, rot and decay like takes over pretty much.
Yeah.
So if you put a seashell to your ear, you can hear the sea. What happens when you put a bottle of bones? Can you hear the souls of the damned? So even if you're a pile of bones, you don't get to leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Pale Rider, you're stuck there.
Not the most motivational poem I've heard today, but still
Right. I mean,
very cool.
that wasn't the poem. I was just trying to like,
Yeah.
But still, I mean, like, talk about
I don't like feel
depressing.
pumped to go accomplish something after
Oh,
that, but it's pretty funny.
but I mean, like, Path is so dark,
It is. I love it. It's so gritty. I love it.
but that's why, like, you have to
Yeah.
join the Facebook group, and we do like
Yes.
shenanigans to kind
Yeah.
of lighten the mood. One of my stretch goals I do every time is called the Slice and Dice. So
Nice.
obviously, martial artist, I have a collection of
Yeah.
knives and machetes.
Yes. Walk.
I'm not weird.
Shit.
Um,
Not at
So-
all. I love it.
right,
I
not
love
at
it.
all.
I won't tell you what I collect outside
Well, I
of
could see.
yeah.
But I'll let people name like a watermelon or a pumpkin.
Yeah.
And then on my one of my podcasts, I'll dress up as Pikachu. That's a thing. And then they vote on the weapon of destruction. And then I will destroy this watermelon or pumpkin that they have named
Wow,
on a
wow.
live stream, and it's hilarious. We have such a
Well,
good
I'm
time.
I'm almost 50, so I remember sitting with my dad watching. I can't remember the comedian's name
Gallagher.
that smashed the. Yes,
Gallagher. Oh
Gallagher.
yes.
So you go Gallagher on these things, huh?
Last one I did, the first campaign that did the slice and dice, they
Yeah.
voted on a Filipino short sword. So I
Oh,
sliced it into like 25 pieces, right?
yeah.
And it was a watermelon, and the fans named it King Joffrey Baratheon because nobody likes him,
Yeah, nobody
right?
likes him. Yeah.
No.
That's
And
hilarious.
the last campaign we did, let's see, it was called Ichabod Craven. We ended right before Halloween. It was the week before
Mm.
Halloween. So it was Halloween themed, and it was a pumpkin, and they voted on a modified sledgehammer. So my dad was in town, and the sledgehammer is great. It's heavy, but it has like a small head, right? So it goes
Yeah,
into the pumpkin, doesn't smash the
yeah.
pumpkin. So we fit a piece of just 2x4 on it. So that way, when you hit it, it went this way.
Yeah, exactly. Good, smart.
We wanted a bigger diameter. We didn't want it to go this way
Yeah,
because I didn't want it to
exactly.
be covered in pumpkin guts, but this way.
Yeah.
Right. So,
So
and I
you doing this
tried to
like in
light
your
it on fire
backyard or in the
in my
garage?
yard,
In your yard, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We tried to light the pumpkin on fire, but it was like, it was cold and rainy, so it wouldn't
Yeah.
light. But I will get it. I will get something lit on fire, trust me, and then smash it. That's on the checklist at some point in
Nice.
the bucket list to destroy.
That's
So we'll see. We'll see. I have a
yeah.
plethora of weapons that people can vote for. So we'll see the next campaign what people decide they want. So we
So
have
cool.
fun. We have fun doing stuff like that. You know what I mean? Outside of the dark, depressing Path of the Pale Rider.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like horror and thriller has really kind of taken over as the genre right now in comic books. I mean, if you look at James Tynion and some of the stuff that he's putting out, I mean, the horror scene, Colin Bunn is killing it right now in comic books, just because it's so popular right now. So I feel like you're kind of before that trend. So I mean, more power to you. I hope that you kill it on your next Kickstarter with issue 4, but you're like in such the perfect space because right now superheroes are kind of on the kind of flattened
Yeah.
out or a little bit on the decline, and people want these more interesting stories where you do talk about things that make you think like, is that really righteous to do? Is it wrong? Like you got to make these decisions. I think people like to have that feeling of being put in that kind of a situation through a story and then consider what would I do in that situation. So I
Yes.
feel like you have a great story for all of that. That's really exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, issue number 4, which is almost done, really hammers on that
Mm-hmm.
specifically. What would you do in this situation? And some of the, I mean, issue 3 kind of touches on the ethics, but
Mm-hmm.
issue 4 is right in the thick of it. There's some pretty gnarly situations, and the stuff that the art team is turning out, both Marco and Matt, is just gnarly. I like to look at it and be terrified at the story coming to life. I'm like, wow, this is terrifying. It's scary. What, seeing it on the page, seeing it visually instead of just in my head is nuts.
Yeah.
But we, I don't want to say, never mind.
Yeah, yeah. Don't say anything that you don't want to say. Yeah, you'll regret it. Trust me. You'll be thinking
I'm gonna
about it later,
stop
like,
there.
damn it, why did I say that? Did he finish chopping it up yet? I got to tell him to remove that part.
Oh no, I was gonna say, we have a choose your own adventure book.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not bad.
No, I'm changing the subject is what I'm
Oh,
saying.
gotcha.
So
Okay.
if you want to see what you would do in this type of apocalypse, it's in the time that Jude St. Clair is. So 10 years into the apocalypse, you start out at a saloon and you get the option to run bounties to make money. And good luck.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's all I can say. Good luck.
There is a way to win. I do put a save point like halfway through. If you get back to the saloon after the first outing, then it's like if you die in that second half, you just go back to that, the save
Yeah.
point. So it's not, like throw the book across the room, but it is fun. I made people
Yeah.
run the gauntlet. The only person that got through on the first try that I know of was Marco because he knows how I write. So it's
Yeah.
cheating.
It's cheating. That's not fair.
Right. Everybody else dies a grisly death, so it's great.
Yeah, yeah. Nice. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think it would be right that we kind of talk about Any One World. You and I
Yes.
both are part of that with ASAP Imagination. I had
Yes.
Hades on, and I love the guy. Such an incredible person. And what he has built in the UK is he's got to be one of the fastest growing publishers in the UK. I mean, I think he's been doing it for 2 years. They have several
Mhm.
titles under ASAP, and then Any One, he's I think close to 80 different titles that they are pushing out, mainly through digital form. Although you
Mhm.
can do physical as well in the UK, but he's really helping a lot of amazing creators bring their work to the UK and other European countries as well, which is super exciting if you're an indie creator. Um, can you kind of talk about how that relationship started? I mean, did you have him on your
Yeah.
podcast? Is that how it started?
Um,
Like for me?
so I had George Medina on my show. So I run it. Okay, I have two podcasts. The first one that I've been doing for longer is called the Tuesday Morning Brew, and that's on the Comic Related Madness Network.
Okay,
They have about 40 shows, and they're still growing and etc. They're trying to build a Roku right now, which is amazing. But
that's
George
awesome.
Medina and I have been friends. I've been on his show, Catch the Craze, a few times with himself and Sam Vera, who's also a Texan, and I get to hang out with at cons, and it's great.
Sweet.
So George was on talking about Russ 5077, I think. He also does Wonder Duck and he does a few things. And this was around the same time that they were working on Gig, which is global indie group. And that in itself is super cool because it's a hub for people like you and me, where if we're in the indie world, we can connect with each other and build community. And they have like different categories. Are you a writer? Are you an editor, an artist, a podcaster? You can put yourself in all these different categories and connect with other people. So Gig is a great resource. So they were on the show. First, it was George, and then he was like, "Hey, can Hades come on?" And I was like, "Who's Hades?" And he's like, "Oh, he's the guy that's creating Gig. I wanted to talk about Gig while I'm here on the podcast." And I was like, "Sure, the more the merrier, man. If he's a friend of yours, he's a friend of mine." Um, and I was really hit it off with Hades. Like we were laughing and having a good time on the show. And he was like, "Listen, you do a lot of things that ASAP wants to do, like with the short films and the additional media, um kind of the Alice in Wonderland fall into the rabbit hole kind of thing with Path." And he was like, "We want to do stuff like that. I want to do stuff like that." He's like, "By the way, did you know I can offer you distribution in the UK? Let's talk." So that's how it started, and I was just like, I'm there. And then in 2023 I took over one of their podcasts, so I actually now host the Any One World Showcase, where I interview the Any One World creators, creatives, etc. And that's a weekly thing too. And there are so many new people every week. There's someone new in that chat group, and it's great to have them all cycle through the show. I learned so much just by having people on the show and asking them like, "What are you doing?" and "Tell me about your story and how did you start?" And it's just so great. It's so great and everybody that's in Any One is like a giant family. They're all super nice and easygoing and no drama. And most of them are driven, except for Christian, who needs to get back to work. Christian, he's not going to watch this, so it doesn't matter.
Well, if he does, I think you'll get a phone call maybe.
Bring it.
Bring it on. Yeah, she has a lot of nice, Christian, so be careful.
but but yeah, I 100% agree with you. ASAP and Any One is like where it's at right now. It's growing hand over fist. Hades is doing things outside the box. He announced on the Any One World Showcase that there's books that are now at Waterstone from ASAP. And if people don't know Waterstone, it's like the Barnes and Noble equivalent over in the UK. So a
Yeah.
bookstore, people, you want to get your books in a bookstore and not just, online on Amazon. Freaking Any One World, baby. It's
Yeah.
there. So
Nah,
he's a mover and a shaker, and I'm super excited to see what 2024 holds for Any One in ASAP.
agree, agree. I'm very excited. And can't wait to see all that amazing success. And like you said, so many amazing people.
Mhm.
that are part of it, with some incredible stories. I'm always amazed as you meet other creators and learn how they came up with their stories, and it's beautiful. I mean, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, 100%. I'm always like, we just became best friends because you write about
Exactly.
zombies. Haha.
I love it. So Lori, can you kind of walk through your social, your
Mhm.
YouTube pages, your website, which you already kind of talked about, but I want to make sure that we have all that information for anybody that's watching this, and then I'll make sure that I put it in the information page underneath the YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. That way, people that are listening know how to get a hold of you for your book.
Absolutely. Well, I spend most of my time on Facebook because I'm that generation. So you can find me, Laurie Calcaterra, but where the real fun happens is in the Path of the Pale Rider group. Now it's a private group. You just have to answer one question to get in, which is, do you like comic books? So it's a no-brainer. But that's where like the polls happen, where you get to vote on merch, what's coming next. We named a zombie lady this week. I had a zombie pinup drawn, and they're still naming it. It's hilarious. And that's where like you get to vote on the slice and dice. You get to see like all the art sneak peeks and the merch that's coming in. That one gets the first look. There's a Path of the Pale Rider on Instagram. It's at Path of the Pale Rider with an underscore between all the words, which is super annoying, and I have regrets. However, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's there. That's the same handle for the TikTok. So I have stuff on there that's funny. That's the slice and dice and art sneak peeks to music, and again making merch. People they like it when I make stuff. They just
That's
get the most
awesome.
views where I'm like, look at me and my cricket, and they're like, yay. Like, okay. I think the art's cooler, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. I'm on Threads at Laurie Calcaterra. I'm on X at Path Pale Rider. My YouTube channel is at Laurie Calcaterra 360. And I have different playlists. So there's like a martial arts playlist, a Path of the Pale Rider playlist, and then one each for the two podcasts that I host. So the Tuesday Morning Brew, that's a great show. That's a 2-hour show where I interview indie creators from everywhere. I've had actors, actresses, writers. I had this one really awesome young woman. I think she was 14, Sandy Nesbitt, and she was a ventriloquist and also musician. So she plays the guitar and sings, and she sang like for all sorts of stuff for us. And she likes classic rock,
Oh,
like
wow.
Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. Amazing, amazing young woman. So we had a blast. So I get all sorts of people on that one. And then, of course, I host any One World Showcase. So there's a list for that. I think I have a new one, a new list. And I'm sorry, people. It's called Eat Good Food Before You Die, because I like to like bake and
Yeah.
experiment with food. So I have that list too. So if you want to watch me make cheese and sugar-free, dairy-free coffee creamer that actually tastes good, that's the next video I'm doing. And I like to bake
Nice.
bread, so that'll be on there too. So yeah, I do all those things. I think
That's
that's
a
it.
lot. That's kind of a
I
lot,
know.
Lori. I
I
think you got a
know.
lot going on.
I know. I do, but I enjoy it. It keeps me busy.
Yeah.
My husband and my two girls, they love it. And they're always asking me, "Want to show me pictures from your comic, or what show are you on next?" And we have fun. We have
That's
fun.
good.
So
That's good. Well, Lori, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you spending some time with me. I thoroughly enjoyed meeting you. Hope we could do this again, especially when the trade comes out.
yeah.
Real quick, do you have a date of when the Kickstarter will go up for issue 4? That's not ready yet.
Well, issue 4 is already funded. Issue
Oh, so
4,
you funded and now you're finishing it. Okay, got it. Yep.
yeah, we're gonna
Beautiful. What about the
fulfill that.
trade?
Our next one will be the trade, which will probably be end of February at some point.
Okay, perfect.
If as soon as we finish 4, that's basically the last art for the trade. I have
Yeah.
some bonus material that I'm working on. The only other thing that needs to be done is Marco's going to do a cover, and then that's ready. So we'll see if I can get Hades to print those.
Exactly.
Dear Hades.
Yes.
We'll
That's
see.
awesome.
But
Yeah.
so we'll be back around in like end of February after everything is fulfilled, that everybody has their books and they get a chance to read through the story. And then we'll go again. And then we'll do 5 is probably, that'll be February, March, April, maybe.
Wow.
We'll start 5.
You're pumping them out, man. You are pumping them out.
Yeah, we need to.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, that's impressive.
I was on a podcast and he was like, "How often do you release books?" And I was like, 2 a year. And he was like, "Do you realize it'll be 6 years before you finish the first arc?" And I was like, "That's too long. I don't like that." He's like, "Maybe you should speed up then." I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right, fine." So that's when we hired Matt as our colorist.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to pick up some speed.
I actually think
Um,
2 a year is what normally happens in the indie world
mm,
because it's expensive, right?
it
And if you
is.
don't fund and usually you don't fund for how much you put into it, so it's really out of pure love of comics and wanting to get your story out there. I mean, some people do amazing, right? I see some of these people getting, $80,000 and $60,000. I'm just like, that's just incredible. But
Wow, yeah.
yeah, I don't know how they get to that point. Obviously, doing it for a long time and having a big following, but it's always impressive to see someone that's pumping out as much as you're pumping out, Laurie. You're killing
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we do lots of good stuff, and
Mhm.
it's great that people can choose their level of involvement. If
Yeah.
they just want to read the comic and get the meat and potatoes of the story, read the comic. That's the most important thing. But if you want to do the riddles and you want to participate in the short films, because the short films are fan interactive,
Mm.
those are all on my YouTube page, but you can see like the first one we did a commercial for the undead retirement community and we had a riot. So then the people were acting out in the riot. The second one, I interviewed people to see what their conspiracy theory was. So we did a news report. It's hilarious. My husband's in it. If you watch to the end, you get to see me get run over by a car. Amazing. The third one, I did like a psychological horror. It's hard to explain, but at the very end, the fans got to be dead bodies, which was great. And then this
Awesome.
next one, I already did the credits and I zombified about 40 people to play during the credits. And then that one, the script is done, the shot list is done. I should be filming within the week. So
Wow.
we but it's fun. It's
It
fun. It's all
is.
meant to be fun. And what I
Yeah.
love about the short films and the riddles is those are always included. It's not like we have to do a stretch goal or hit a certain dollar amount in order to get those. Those are always part of our world.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's an
awesome.
interactive experience, which is fun if you choose to participate.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I love it, Lori. Lori,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for joining me today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And truly, anytime you want to come back, please just reach out. I would love to have you back again.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for having me on. This was a blast. This was a blast.
Likewise. All right, Lori, have a good one, okay?
Thank you very much. Bye,
Bye bye.
everybody.